welcome to day 46 of 50 days to your Pentecost. Can you imagine 46 days every day we've had a friend in the kingdom with us as a guest to share with you how they're walking out their life with Jesus. I am so thrilled today that we're going to have Corey and Erica with us. We're going to give you a little bit of their story in a couple of minutes, but I want you to would you grab a coffee? All right. I've got my I Love Canada coffee mug here. Grab it, sit down. Let's have a conversation. This millennial couple that we're going to be with today, they're going to challenge you. They're going to be authentic. They're going to be really real about life and walking in the kingdom. You're not going to want to miss this time with them this morning. I want to let you know that tomorrow will be equally exciting because we've got Christy and Catherine with us. And these two powerhouse women of God have such a vision and passion about training and activating the next generation of emerging leaders, offering productivity labs for entrepreneurs, leaders, and teams. I just want you to say all of that is going to happen tomorrow with these two. Christy is in Argentina. Catherine is right here in the beautiful city of Calgary, Canada, and together they're going to share some things that are going to really challenge and promote the kingdom in a new way for you. And then on Friday, my very good friend Imad Hamadi from Amman, Jordan, will be with us. Let me just say, in a nutshell, this man has just retired from being a biology teacher in the Royal Family School in Amman, and is pastoring 3 congregations in that city. And he and his wife are just an absolute delight. You're just going to love them. You're going to fall in love with them. And he'll call you Habibi, which is dear, dear friend. And then on Saturday, Brian Elliott will be here with us. And Brian is going to take a deep dive on seeing your world from a kingdom lifestyle perspective. And can I just say that he's going to unpack the simplicity of walking wholeheartedly as a son or a daughter of God right in the place where you likely feel the most inadequate to live. And that's what this is all about. How do we live the kingdom life in the workplace, in our school, in our life? And how do we become a Jesus disciple, seeing our world from a kingdom lifestyle perspective? If you click on that QR code, you can register, because after the live stream, we will have Brian and we will have a 2.5-hour workshop on digging down into seeing your world from a kingdom lifestyle perspective. It'll be a great time. I don't want you to miss it. So today, in the midst of all of our joy, in the midst of all of those things, we also want to dedicate today's broadcast to a wonderful friend, Ken Gill, who just last evening has passed into the glory of the Lord. Ken was a father, a pastor, an apostle to many in the nation, across the nation, and in many nations. And he was such a good friend for Ann and I. And so we just want to express our condolence and our sympathy and our prayers to Cheryl and all of the kids, and may the Lord comfort you with his comfort today. We love you, and Ken, you have been a servant and a soldier for the kingdom. We honor you. So, folks, as you can hear, there's emotion attached to this, because our friend now is in the fullness of the glory of God. He longed for the presence of God. Whenever he spoke of the presence, something would just enter into the room, because that was who Ken Gill was. Today, Corey and Erica Grenier, they've been married 15 years. Corey married up in life, and you can find out what that's going to mean in a moment. But they're a devoted couple who love Jesus and each other deeply. I love that. Not just Jesus, but you love each other, guys. Way to go. Corey works as an emergency management lead with a multinational mining company from Australia, while Erica pours her heart into homeschooling their 4 children, ages 4 to 11. Just saying, folks. Together, they're passionate about faith, family, and living a life centered around his kingdom. And they live in Saskatoon, Canada. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. So, Corey, I mentioned that you married up. What's that like, and how does that feel to have married up?
It's amazing. It's amazing to know that your wife's as amazing as everybody thinks she is.
And now, Erica, has he always expressed that you're always as amazing as he just did?
Oh, yes.
Good answer. Good answer. So I understood that you got all of the kids outside of the house before you came on the broadcast, because otherwise we would have, the 4 kids and you on the broadcast, and that would have been fine. But it's great to have you here this morning. And we sat down a few weeks ago when Ann and I were in Saskatoon visiting our kids. And Erica, I remember when you were, you would have been a teenager as you'd be running around helping your mom at some of the national gatherings and all of that. And so you've grown up walking in the kingdom, walking in life with Jesus. And here you are now, a mom and a dad, both of you, walking with the Lord. And your journey is an incredible story. There's moments of rawness to it that I feel your generation is able to express with honor, with life, and with hope for the future, but without denying some of the things that you've gone through. When I met you, we met in this little coffee shop, probably the best coffee I could have had in the city of Saskatoon. But it was a little hole in the wall kind of a place. And I thought, well, okay, the coffee is going to be good because they're not putting all the money into the advertising on the front of the building. Thoughts on coffee. By the way, it is a Tim Hortons mug, but I did it because, I love Canada. But thoughts on coffee, thoughts on fellowship, thoughts on going through situations of life.
I'm not a coffee drinker, so I'm the worst person to ask. I like ice caps.
But I decided to match you this morning. Not as cool as yours, but the red color.
Well, I remember that, Erica. You sat there in a coffee shop and you didn't drink coffee, but we love you anyway. And
I had cake. That's what you got to do for fellowship. You got to eat cake together.
So as we sat down, you were right in the middle of one of these transition moments in life that was very real and very literally happening within days of us sitting down. And I thought, this is the kind of the story, the valleys and the mountains are all a part of our walk with the Lord. Just start to share a little bit, what have the last 3-4 years been like, and what has the Lord been bringing you through?
Yeah. So it probably there was some hits over the last, I'd say probably 7 years. But the major one was probably 3 years ago. We were just sitting in church and they were giving a message that I think all of us have heard probably lots, but I don't know, it just hit differently. And he asked just a simple question of, what does it look like to live for eternity? And are you living for eternity? And so at the time we left and we just started asking, well, what does that look like? What does it look like to have with your kids? How do you teach them how to live for eternity? And are we actually doing it? And our answer was no. And so we began the process of a major overhaul in a lot of areas. Yeah.
So you were walking with Jesus. You were a Christian family. You were involved in church.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have said that you weren't walking with Jesus.
No.
So how do we define living for eternity versus what you were doing when you heard that word?
Yeah. Well, I could bring up some of the questions we started asking, and by no way I want it to sound like judgmental on anybody else's walk. I'm not saying that this means that what everybody else is doing is wrong. It just started for example, we were like, do we agree with how retirement works? Do we agree with working for somebody out of the home 8 hours a day, sending our kids to an institution for 6 hours a day, and then putting them in sports? And then what do we think about Sunday school? And like they were just like very practical questions. And for us, we were like, we have a different opinion than probably a lot of people. We've arrived at a different opinion than a lot of people would have in this day and age. And so how do we get our life to reflect our values?
So, and in a world full of opinion, there's never a shortage of opinion. I think that the reality is that many times we are going from one posture, one place, into a place of greater. There's always more of the kingdom than we have experienced. And so for those of you that might have got tripped up by the word opinion, allow yourself to hear the heart of the Father drawing this young family into a place of greater intimacy, greater life. And sometimes that greater feels like it's lesser because it's not what we have known before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Corey, what did it practically look like for you to be going into this greater that looked not greater?
Yeah, it was a lot. Like it was kind of the breakdown of some of the structures that I held, just as even like a family or even as a man or whatever it was. Like, you have to be this, you have to be that.
Yeah.
And as I started to break some of that down, the Lord, I think, just started breaking me down in a lot of like my mindsets, and just putting me in a place. Like, for the last 3 years, the Lord basically, everything that I've tried hasn't really gone anywhere.
Right.
So the Lord, like, basically our story goes is we went to the States during COVID, kind of just as I was in the medical field, running a medical company. So I went to the States to kind of get a reprieve, hang out with family. So we did that for 6 months. And then when we came back, me and Erica were just praying and asking the Lord if I should go back to my job, if I should do a different job, whatever it was. And we felt like the Lord was asking us to give up the job and kind of go this other route, which aligned more with our values of spending time with family and spending time cultivating family, that side of things. So we said no to the job. And then that 3 years led through a journey of not being able to
just being really stripped.
Yeah.
So even at the start, both him and I said, well, we feel like this is what the Lord is saying, and we would rather be Peter, who gets out of the boat and possibly drowns, than stay in the boat. And so we were like, let's just rip off the Band-Aid and start trying to walk this out. And I think we thought that, okay, radical obedience will mean radical blessing, and it'll be really easy. And you take a leap of faith. And anyways, it didn't end up being that way. It's not that the Lord wasn't like present through the whole thing, but I think, got stripped in a way that we have never in our lives before. And all the ugly stuff in between.
Right. And sometimes we want to diminish this stripping, this pruning, this minimizing
Yeah.
of the comfort, of the dream that we have, of and we end up probably, I'm not speaking for you, but I know I have ended up in those moments thinking, okay, what did I do wrong?
Mhm.
Where are you? Hello? I've been working really hard for you, God. Did you go through that? What did that look like?
For me, like I said, it's just the breaking down of the foundation. So it looked like for 3 years, I had an idea of what I wanted to do for a job, what I wanted to do, because we all have to make money, we all need to provide. And I felt like, okay, I'm going to step out of the boat like Peter did, and I'm going to walk, and the Lord's going to help me out. And what ended up happening is everything that I tried failed for 3 years, and I would try to step out into things that I thought the Lord was saying. It wasn't clear that He was saying it, but I felt like, hey, maybe this is it. And I'd step out, and every time I'd step out, it'd be just another failure. Like it'd be something that wouldn't go anywhere. And the Lord was really faithful even in that. Like was always providing in little ways for us, and there was always little miracles. And we went grocery shopping with $200, came out into the van, and ended up having $400 of cash in our little $200 cash thing. And or go to the dollar store, and some lady would pay for our kids' toys. Like she would just offer. Like there's all these different things. We had a person give us a van. Like there's all these amazing things. Just when we needed things, the Lord always provided.
Right.
But it felt like I was always limited in what the Lord would do. He'd give us construction jobs because I know how to do construction. So he would give us construction jobs that would pay for that month. Little things. We asked for a barbecue. Like I was like, Lord, I want a barbecue. Can't afford a barbecue. He gave me a barbecue. Like there's all these things that ended up happening, but we were still limited in the way it was. And it was breaking down in me the idea that I was my own provider. I was my own, like it was the idolatry that I was basically my own God. Not in,
I no.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but let's be for sure that we as the guys are saying like, my job is to do this.
Yeah.
And we don't recognize that those are things we're to do. But if our identity is in doing and not being,
yeah,
then we get stripped.
Yeah. And for me, I was really good at doing. I was really good at being the provider and all of the world's idea of what a man should be. Like my dad's the man's man. Like so we grew up that way. And it was just the idea that in that I became my own reliance and my own idol, where I was providing for my family. Look how hard I worked for my family. I put in 80 hours a week for my family. And the Lord basically said, like broke all that down and started challenging, what does it look like for a man to be in the home? Like statistically, a man on average spends, 10 months with their actual kids, like playing with their kids from 0 to 19. That's 10 months of their life that you end up spending with them.
Wow.
Like just actively playing. So it's like, when you look at that, I don't know, it's like the Lord just challenged the foundation of what does it look like to bring a man back into the home? And what does that look like for me to drop all of these ideas, these titles of success, these job titles of success? And what does that look like to just be in the house? And for that, it was 3 years of failure. And failure with friends, failure of family, failure with everything, failure as a man. You want to know the hardest job in the entire world? Be a mom for a month. And I say that jokingly, but I don't say it jokingly. I had to die so much to myself because I had all these aspirations, all these things, and all these titles and all these things. It was like, be a mom for a month and you figure out what it's like to die to self every single minute of every day.
And so I mean, yes, there's the joke on that, but what happened to your heart then towards Erica?
My entire mindset changed from being a dad outside the home, where you come and you're like, okay, well, what'd you do today? What'd you do? Like that kind of attitude, to the fact that it's really just a constant laying down your life. You want to be more like Jesus. Like I said, be a mom. You lay down every single day, all of your dreams, your thoughts on what success looks like, all of that. And especially I feel like millennials and there's a lot of push to, to be successful and have titles and all this stuff. And it's just like, man, you really have to lay it all down for your kids.
So Erica, obviously, being the mom of 4 kids, it must have been your lifelong dream to be a mom.
Yeah, I guess you and I talked about this, which is why you're poking. Yes, some people do dream of one day when they get to be a mom, and I did not imagine myself in that light. I had, I think, big career aspirations as well, and big dreams. And we started having kids, and I don't think when you start having kids, anybody understands how much you do have to lay down until you've had them. And then, like I've said to Corey probably 100 times, it's a really difficult thing when your values don't line up with your personality, and to walk those out in constant clashing of each other.
Yeah.
And so we essentially, sorry.
Our challenge is that many times we have a persona of our personality, but we actually really don't know who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And identity is so lacking in everything that we do, and we put on our face for the identity, but the rest of the body of us is like, really, is this really who I am?
Yeah.
You went through that.
Yeah. Well, and even on the identity portion, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to get Corey back in the house, because we were looking around at what's happening in this day and age. And just for us personally, we really believe that there's a lot of identity that a father carries in the home for establishing that among his kids.
Yeah.
And there's an absence of fathers nowadays, in like across the board in any circle. And so we were just like, how do we instill a godly identity in our kids? Well, we got to get dad back involved more, because everything pushes him out. And so again, like I said, he started working at home online, because we felt like that would be a way to, because you still need money to survive this day and age.
Even in Saskatoon.
And so he started trying to do that. And like I said, because it was along the lines of what we thought would be more like God's kingdom principles, we thought it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
And we essentially went on a living by faith journey with 4 kids without doing ministry or anything. And so you can't even like write your newsletters to get donations, because you're sitting at home trying to figure it
out. Can I just smash the paradigm of what ministry is? I'll just tell you that when Ann and I stepped out of pastoral ministry and we were going to start doing evangelistic work on the streets of Toronto, actually the year that we met Ken Gill in 1986, we wrote those letters to our family and friends, and zero letters, $0. And then the Lord asked us to prayer walk. This was before prayer walking was around. And he said, I want you just to listen to me as you walk on the streets of Toronto. Don't talk to anybody. And I thought, if I'm not talking to anybody, how can I tell everybody about the breakthrough of God, that somebody gave their life to Jesus on the street? And
Yep.
The breaking down of our mindset.
Yeah.
So that we can actually hear the Father. I want to thank you for doing this. I want to thank you for being raw enough to say that.
Yeah. So basically then what ended up happening after the 3-year journey of the Lord kind of leading us through this foundational breakdown, re-shifting type situation. I was at my kind of the end of my like capacity, tried all these things, failed. And I finally looked at Erica. My family owns a farm, so we've been very blessed, like my mom and dad. And it's a beautiful place, and they let us rent here for cheap. It's why we could do what we did. And
Yeah.
anyway, so what ended up happening is my parents have been trying to sell this because they want to retire. It's taken 5 years, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, we have a showing on the house," and our kids kind of freaked out. They're very sensitive to the Holy Spirit, and they freaked out. We've had lots of showings before; they've never freaked out, and they're like, "Dad, where are we going to move? Where are we going to live?" And I was like, "It's just a showing, buddy. It's going to be okay." And they just kept on. So I went and asked my mom. I was like, "Hey, like, what's happening?" And she's like, "Yeah, somebody put an offer on the house, which is they've been trying to sell it for 5 years." So at that point in time, I'm like, "Okay, like we're going to be out July 1st. This is serious, and I don't have a job. I don't have any way to make money. Nothing I've tried has worked." And I finally just said to the Lord, I was like, "I'm not moving until you move. I've tried everything in my own strength. I've gone down these paths, what I potentially thought was you, whatever. And if I die, I die." Like, I mean, that sounds crazy, whatever. Like but I was like, if we end up in a van in July 1st with my 4 kids living in a van, God, I'm not doing anything. I'm not applying for jobs. I'm not looking for jobs. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to wake up every morning and do my devotions, and what you do and where you want me to be is where you're going to be. And at this, like before this, the pretense is I applied for 50 some jobs, to jobs that I was overqualified for. Like, and then not only that, I don't test the Lord, but I applied for jobs that I wasn't qualified for, and just was like, "Yeah, I'm qualified." I applied for a job.
The other didn't work, so let's try this.
Yeah, well, because we were just making jokes. Where it's like, "God, like you're limiting us in this way. Like, what's happening?"
Yeah, like from a gas attendee to a doctor.
Yeah, and I'm not a doctor.
And all over the country, because we had gotten to the point where we're like, I think the Lord, because you go through these seasons of like, is this warfare? Are we missing it?
Yes.
Is this God? Is this the devil? And so we had finally got to the point where we're like, I think this might be God, and I think you have us in a corner for a reason. Yeah. So let's just really confirm that.
Yeah, and we did confirm it, and nothing went anywhere. So anyway, so then after that, I just said, "God, I'm not doing anything." And as soon as I said that, thank God, it was only 3 days of doing devotion and stuff like that, and then just giving up. And we show up at church, and it's a new church that we've only been there for a couple months, and the Holy Spirit just showed up in a really crazy way. And basically, the pastor called me out. Doesn't know me. I had a man bun at the time. Said, "Hey, man bun, come up to the front."
Not even Mr. Man Bun, just Man Bun.
Just Man Bun.
Just Man Bun.
Calls me up to the front and basically is like, "Hey, what is the Lord saying to you?" I'm not great with words. I jumble a bunch of stuff. And then he goes, "What do you want from the Lord?" And I felt like the Lord said to me, "Whatever you ask for, Corey, I'll give you." And in my heart, a bunch of, normal things pop up, finances, that stuff. And
like, because we've been going further and further in debt. Like, it's not at all
yeah,
the prosperity thing that we were imagining, I think.
And in my heart, I opened my mouth. I don't even know what I was going to say. And in my heart, I opened my mouth and it says, "I want more of your presence." And I just lost it. And I felt like the Lord was like, "Yeah, I'm going to give you that." And a bunch of people came and they prayed for me. And a gentleman, Rick, basically came up and said, "Hey," he started speaking in my ear and he said, "I feel like the Lord has limited you." And this guy knows me, like does not know me at all. He's never talked to me in my life. And he goes, "I feel like the Lord's been limiting you, but because of your heart's response, you are now going to be limitless." As soon as he said that, like everything went really, really well. It's a good Holy Spirit moment. It was probably one of the biggest Holy Spirit moments I ever had. And we leave, and to make a short story long, um, nothing's been going our way. That was Sunday. Monday, I get a phone call from a guy in Toronto. I never answer Toronto numbers because I don't know anybody from there. Answer the phone, and it's a job offer. And the guy goes on it, goes, "Hey, where do you live?" I say, "Saskatoon." He goes, "Oh, great. The job's in Saskatoon." I was like, okay, that's good to know. And from there, so from Monday, basically I go through interviews. They keep on telling me all this stuff. It's not going to, whatever might work.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah. So from there, by Friday, I have a job offer, go through interviews, have a job offer. And the company that I'm with gives me 2 pay increases before I even start with them. And then they tell me, hey, you know what? It's going to take a couple weeks to get your contract. End of day, I get my contract, and I'm starting in a week and a half.
So we spent most of the time talking about the journey, folks, purposefully. It was when Corey said, "I want your presence more than anything." You see, you created for presence. Mm-hmm. That's why when Adam and Eve walked with the Lord in the garden, it was because his presence came to them. On the Emmaus Road, they knew the presence, but they didn't identify it because it wasn't what they were accustomed to. And your journey, Erica, your journey, Corey, isn't about the God stripping. It's about God wooing, mm-hmm. bringing you into this place where it feels narrow, it feels small, but it actually brings your focus into living for eternity. It brings you to that place. And what do we do now? I think I met you 2 days after you got the contract, and it's a pretty exciting thing. The journey to it is the memorial stones of the Lord bringing you to this place. Do not discount his journey, folks. Do not discount even his discipline, because you know that a father will discipline only a child, a son or a daughter. He's not going to discipline or bring correction to someone that is not a family member. Corey and Erica, you are proving that your journey that includes pain and question and wonder and leaving things behind is proving out sonship and daughter. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you that as millennials, you have a voice on this because you've experienced it. And there's going to be people that are watching that are going, "Oh man, I don't know if I want that." Just like you wouldn't have wanted it. But I want you to just release a prayer for those that are watching, that your Father is good and he will bring you through everything. He's not going to take you around. He's not going to take you out. He's going to bring you through so his name through your life will be glorified. Would you release a prayer for our viewers today?
Oh God, we just thank you. I thank you for our journey, Father, and just how faithful you've been through the entire thing and how gracious you've been to our mistakes. Mm-hmm. I just thank you for your sovereignty, Lord.
Yes.
And that we do this all for you, Father. And you don't need a reason. And we just thank you. Yeah, Father, I just thank you for where you've led me and just the absolute gift that you've given to me to walk this out. Even though it's been hard, I just thank you that you've reached down your hand and carried me through so many things that I didn't think I could get through, Father. And I just thank you, Jesus. Yeah.
And Lord, I thank you that you are good. and that you get the chance to define that, and that you're worthy of our lives being poured out as a sacrifice to you.
Yes.
That you don't owe us anything, but we owe you everything. And I just pray that you would continue to give us the strength and the capacity to say yes to the moments of wilderness or stripping. And for anybody who's listening to our story and feels in a similar place, I just pray that you would, like you did with us, just show them that you're there and that you're with them no matter what they walk through, and that you strengthen them to pick up their cross and to die daily and to lay it all at your feet, and that it is, and that you deserve it and it's worth it no matter what happens. And so I just want to thank you for your faithfulness even to us, and the opportunity to even go through this and to see freedom in areas and deliverance in areas. And I just pray that you would always, that we would always be open to be tested by you, Lord, because our ultimate desire is to become more like Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Give us the strength, God, and thank you for who you are.
Erica, I've known you since you were a teenager. It is a delight to see you.
You too.
Passionately following the Lord. Well done, Corey. I just want to say well done. And congratulations on choosing the right thing to ask of the Lord. I want your presence.
Yeah.
Such a gift. Folks, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for being with us. The QR code that's on the screen is just so that if you want to register to be a part of the workshop with our good friend Brian Elliott, seeing your world from a kingdom lifestyle perspective, just click on that QR code and you can get all of the information. We'll love to have you here. Tomorrow, we've got Catherine and Christy. They are just fireballs for the kingdom. Have a wonderful day. God bless you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.